Okay, I want to talk to you about something that nobody warns you about. Healthy relationships can feel boring. I know that's the opposite of probably of what you've been taught because the movies have taught us to chase fireworks and social media has told us that if there's no spark, that means no future and that there needs to be those fireworks and sparks. Dating culture tells us that we should just know. And listen, sometimes that is the case. In my case of finding my husband, I will say that when I met him on our first date, I ended up leaving that date feeling I didn't know he was going to be my forever person because I don't work like that. I don't work on love at first sight. I got to get to know you to know if you're going to be my love forever. But I will say that I knew there was something special between us, like a connection between us. So I will say that. I actually went home and journaled about it. I have the journal entry and everything. Maybe I'll share that another time. But I knew he was going to be something special to me. I just didn't know like what, you know? So I do want to say that we did have chemistry and we did have a connection, but and a spark or whatever. But I want to ask you because that's not always the case. So what if the spark you actually keep chasing is the thing that is breaking your heart? I want you to think about your dating history for a second. I want you to think of the times where you stayed up late at night overthinking. Maybe there was a guy or a girl that had you staring back at your phone, waiting for a text from them, or someone that made you replay every conversation, trying to figure out actually what they meant. I want you to now think about how your body felt in that relationship. Your stomach was probably in knots. Your heart is racing every time they text you, constantly wondering, where do I stand in this relationship? That's what we call chemistry. I call it uncertainty, and those are not the same thing because real chemistry isn't going to come with confusion. Healthy love is not going to make you decode somebody's text, and it's not going to make you wonder, am I enough? But if you're like me in your childhood, because I used to be like that, I'm going to tell you, in my childhood, it was very chaotic. It was very unpredictable. I always say, I grew up in World War III with parents that were always fighting. So for me, chaos felt very familiar. Calm was very foreign. Let's just put it that way. And if chaos has been your normal, calm might feel wrong at first, because that was me before I did this work. So if you've ever met someone kind and consistent and someone who actually followed through, and there was a part of you that thought, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it, that doesn't mean that they weren't your person. It could mean that though. And see, this is the tricky part because you got to be able to discern that. You know, you got to be able to discern, is it my nervous system is just this isn't familiar to me, or do I actually really not like this person? But I don't think that automatically means that they're not your person. Sometimes it means that you've just never felt peace before, and that peace can feel very unfamiliar, especially if you've been, like I said, you grew up in a toxic household or you've been in multiple dysfunctional relationships. So here's what I tell my clients. Your body is not asking you, is this healthy? It's asking you, is this familiar? Does this feel like what I'm used to? And those are two different things. If you grew up like me where you had to earn love, you're walking on eggshells, your parent was very unpredictable, maybe you had an unstable household, like you didn't know what was going to happen next, never knowing which version of somebody that you're going to get, your brain is going to learn to link that unpredictability with connection. So when someone then shows up in your adult life and they start giving you mixed signals, or they start pulling away, then coming back, you know, the hot and the cold, that cycle, you know the cycle. If you are in that cycle or you've had that cycle, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The push and the pull, the hot and the cold. I love you one day, the next day they're pulling away and they're distant, maybe they're shutting down, giving you the silent treatment. You know what I'm talking about. They're always leaving you guessing. And that can feel exciting. To me, I remember it feeling almost like I'm not going to say I ever tried drugs before, but I mean, I could see it. It felt like a hit of like, it's that dopamine hit. You know what I'm saying? It's like that dopamine hit, like, ooh, that feels good. You know what I'm saying? Like, the highs were the highs, but then the lows were the lows. And I used to think like, oh, like I just feel so strongly for this person, they're my person. But what I realized is that's not because they're your person. It's because your body is recognizing the pattern. It's not chemistry, it's recognition. And that's exactly why someone healthy can feel quiet or predictable, almost boring. And it's not because they're shallow. It's because they're not triggering that same alarm system. Healthy people, as a healthy person now and dating and being married to a healthy person, something I've learned is that healthy people are never going to leave you guessing where you stand. They're going to tell you. They're not going to disappear for 3 days. They're not going to just come back then after those 3 days with some excuse. They don't make consistency feel like that's something you got to earn. It's like who they are. So if you've spent years chasing the opposite of that, consistency is going to feel very foreign to you. And this is where I watch people sabotage the good ones without even realizing it. They meet somebody who's emotionally available, someone who calls you when they say they're going to call, texts back, respects your boundaries. And after a few dates, they'll say, I don't know, I don't think I'm feeling it. Just doesn't feel exciting. Girl, of course it doesn't. You're comparing peace to adrenaline. So like I said, that a dopamine hit that you get. Fun fact, I used to run group classes at a rehab. And one of the things we talked about it was a codependency group. And one of the things that we talked about was how people in codependent relationships, that's why I said that substance use reference. It's like they get the same high as a hit of cocaine. That dopamine hit when that person comes back and you get that high. If you've never experienced that, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But if you have, you're going to know what I'm talking about. It's like this, like, ooh, you like just feel like a rush of adrenaline. Like it's like a relief rushing over you. And that's what keeps you in that cycle, that adrenaline. One person is keeping your body on alert, and the other one, the safe person, is letting your body rest. And if your body has spent years thinking that love means highs and lows, the peace is going to feel empty at first. But it's not empty, it's just new, and you have to, move through the motions to get used to it. Because once you actually start healing, the things that used to excite you will now exhaust you. It's crazy looking back because I remember, like I said, getting that dopamine and getting that rush from certain behaviors that my exes used to do, and now they disgust me. Like, that inconsistency can make me disappear so quick. If my husband started acting like that, I'll be gone so fast because it no longer excites me, it disgusts me. It makes me feel like unsafe, unsettled, like I don't like that. I don't like that you're not predictable. But I had to get used to that. That wasn't something, that's how I ended up in multiple relationships like that. I had to get used to that. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that once you start healing, the things that used to excite you are going to start to exhaust you. That inconsistency stops feeling like passion. The mixed signals will stop feeling romantic. The roller coaster will feel tiring and draining. And that's when everything started to shift. And I remember that shift so clearly. So how do you actually know the difference between peace and just not being compatible with somebody? You got to give it time, because your body isn't going to trust something new overnight. You got to pay attention to how you feel after you spend time with them. Big one. Being able to pay attention. Does my nervous system feel relaxed and calm and safe? Do I feel calmer, or do I feel more anxious? Do I feel accepted for who I am, or do I feel like I have to perform? Can you actually be yourself, or am I do I feel like I have to work to earn their attention and their affection? Those answers are going to tell you more than the butterflies ever will, because the butterflies are going to come and go, but the character doesn't, the consistency doesn't, the kindness doesn't, and that's what actually builds something real, not the adrenaline. So here's what I want you to walk away with and think about, is that maybe the goal was never someone to give you butterflies, but maybe the goal is to find someone who lets you exhale. I can tell you with my husband, I feel like since I've been with this man, I have been exhaling. Like, I felt like with the other ones, I had to be like, and hold my damn breath. This one, I feel like I can just exhale. I can just be. I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel held. I feel safe. I can be. I love that. I love that. Someone whose consistency starts to feel comforting instead of boring. Someone whose love doesn't leave you guessing. Someone who feels safe instead of unpredictable. Your nervous system just should feel calm. Healthy love does not scream like toxic love. It whispers. And if you spent your whole life listening to chaos, you might miss it at first. I'm going to tell you, even with my man, I missed a little bit of that toxicity. In fact, when I entered this relationship, I can tell you, I had a little bit of toxic behaviors left over that I didn't realize I still had to work through until I entered this relationship. And then I was like, ooh, you self-sabotaging. You're trying to get that dopamine hit again. I had to work through that in the beginning of this relationship. And thank God my partner was very, very patient. If you spent your whole life listening to chaos, you might miss it. You might miss it. But once you know what peace actually looks like and feels like, you're never going back. You're never going back. I'm never going back. It's just a different life of being able to be present and build and connect with somebody. So if you take one thing from this, I want it to be this. I don't want you to confuse peace for boring. Sometimes the man or the woman is boring. I had to end many dates because they're boring. But a lot of times, peace is just what healing feels like. And you gotta learn to discern the difference. And if you can't do that on your own, a therapist can absolutely help you work through that. Therapy helped me, did wonders for me, and working on self-help books, understanding my attachment style, anxious attachment, working through all of that helped me get to this place. So if you're looking for that, I do one-on-one therapy with Florida clients. I work with attachment and helping people find themselves and self-trust and be able to discern the difference between chaos and boredom.